Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball Podcast, episode 69. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Wilt each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
You lied to me.
Yeah, well,
You lied to me.
I was distracted trying to also be the producer of our.
I hit a pause in there for you.
I know,
and
yeah, when I'm over here trying to produce the show live, I'll also be in the talent on the show.
Our unpaid intern is sick today.
Yes,
unfortunately.
So I had a lot going on in my brain. We've established can only do so many things at one time.
Yeah.
And you always get mad at our unpaid intern for not starting our timer. Because for those, a tip behind the screen, right? We do have a timer because we could talk for hours. And we don't want all of our listeners to have to endure us when we go on a yapping train. So we keep a timer. That way we know we kind of keep the episode
doesn't work.
In a similar time frame. It doesn't always work. But Adam often gets mad.
No. I never get mad at the unpaid intern. I yell. I'm not mad. I'm just yelling.
I'm expressing
my feelings loudly.
Yeah. And so I wanted to make sure that I got the timer started on time.
Jeez.
On time with the timer.
Well, if you're here with us live, thanks for being here. If you're here with us next day or some days after that, thanks for being here.
You are here with us at all.
Had some in-state matchups this week. That was fun. Those are fun.
Yeah.
The return of the Metros. That was huge.
Yes.
That was super
I thought
huge.
You were going to say the return of the Mac. And I was like, what? How do we make that? But yeah.
There was some action.
There was. Didn't return because it never left.
That's true. That is true. Well, let's talk about our power rankings, Jaren. Let's get into it because they didn't change a lot.
No. What also didn't change is Crow's Nest Coffee. It's still our presenting sponsor for the power rankings. Remember, you can get 15% off every order using promo code TSOB at checkout. But the power rankings, starting at 11, IU Indy, still there from last week. At 10, we've got Ball State, Bold and Strong. 9, Indiana State. Last week they were 8, so they moved down one spot. But it was mostly because 8, Evansville, moved up one spot. They had a big win over Valpo. So because of the transitive property and values of a lot of wins and
looking at their whole resume, not just their most recent.
Yeah. When you look at that, so obviously the recency bias, Evansville moved
just
up.
Like Indiana will not jump Purdue, and if Indiana were to beat Purdue.
But overall, we still think Valpo is the better team, which is why Evansville did not jump them.
No, they would have if Elliott would have made the UE logo with some latte art, but he hasn't done that yet. So
maybe that is true. 7, we've got Southern Indiana playing great ball these days. Love to see that out of the Screagles. 6 is Valpo. And then really here on out, everything has stayed the same. So Butler is at 5. 4 is Notre Dame. 3 is Purdue Fort Wayne. 2 is Indiana. And then 1 will likely run the table, Purdue.
Yeah, I can't imagine them losing the number 1 spot. I'm just waiting for Purdue Fort Wayne to jump into 2. That's what I'm waiting for.
They're knocking on the door.
That have Purdue and then Purdue, Fort Wayne.
It's like the Grim Reaper meme where it's like knock on the door, but it was Butler, then it was Notre Dame, and then next would be Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Coming for Purdue.
They're coming for it. So let's talk about Ball State, Adam.
Your alma mater?
My alma mater.
Yeah. Went down a little bit this week in Torvik. They went down from 241. They're down to 260 now. They had a 1-1 week. So, all things considered, pretty good. Just below 500 at 9-10 and just below 500 in the MAC. They're 3-4. Just wild to me that they've only played 7 MAC games when every other conference is at 10 games played. It's just crazy. And they have a non-league game still to play.
Yes, in 2 weeks.
But they beat Central Michigan at Central Michigan 82-80, and then they lost at home to Northern Illinois 76-66. So a 10-point loss there for them. But what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, just overall, looking at these games, and really the last couple weeks, I hate seeing the rough stretch that they're in when it comes to defense. Their defense is kind of struggling. They've had some pretty low efficiencies. They've played, obviously all conference games in that stretch, and so, against some pretty decent conference opponents. Fortunately, against Central Michigan, even though their defense was not great, they did have the offense rolling to help them. We'll call it a squeak. They squeaked out that win.
Thanks to Jerry's three free throws at the end of the game, doing what Jerry does best, man, hitting his free throws. Knocked down 3 at the end of the game to give him the 82-79 advantage.
That's for sure. But again, the offense then kind of took a step back and left a lot to be desired against Northern Illinois. When we look at the way they're playing, though, they're playing better against good opponents, which you like to see, but they're playing pretty bad against bad opponents. And we kind of saw this with Central Michigan. Central Michigan is a few spots above them in the MAC. NIU, I believe, is in last, maybe, or they're towards the bottom of the conference. So that trend is there for sure.
We're adjust my chair here. I'm trying to move. I didn't move my chair. There we go. Good content. Good content, guys. Yeah, I mean, they were down 8 at half in the Central Michigan game. They come back. Peyton, I thought it was huge that Peyton hits free throws down the stretch. You know, how his percentage has been throughout the years. Still not great, like hovering around like the 60s. Had good production from all their starters in the Central Michigan game, and then NIU. Only 10 free throws in the game combined between both teams, and Ball State only had 4. Missed 15 of them. So, I mean, NIU missed, like, I don't know how many they missed, but you're not going to win missing 15 free throws.
Right.
You lose by 10, so obviously if you would have had those, it would have been a lot better. And then Jerry, after his heroics the game before, didn't hit a single shot in this one, so bit of a yo-yo in here. But,
yeah,
I mean, 3 and 4 is not bad. I don't know. I don't remember where that puts them exactly in the MAC standings at the current moment.
I think they're like right in the middle.
Yeah,
like
you would imagine
place,
if you're around 500, you're
sixth.
usually somewhere in the middle, unless you're in some weird conference
Like the Big Ten, where there's 800 teams.
Yeah, where you're one game by 500, and you're like a 5-way tie for something.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're fine. I think that, like you said, the defense needs to pick up. I mean, that's supposed to be Mike Lewis's like calling card for his team. So need to see those, opponents scoring and go down and hold them to fewer points.
They're actually in 6th technically, but it's a 3-way tie for 6th.
Okay.
Again, just absolutely crazy. But there's only a game that separates them from 5th, obviously, and then 2 games separate them from being tied for 3rd. So, it's like the Missouri Valley Conference almost. Dude. How there's just so many teams that are just right there, and it's like a 1-2 game swing could change the entire outcome of your season and standings. But
let's talk about Butler, because they had some more positives. More positives come this week. So they went up only 1 spot though in Torvik. They went from 89 to 88. Still, the top 100, which is awesome. Given their losing streak that they went on, they are still top 100, which is good to see. 1-1 this week, 9-11. Real close to getting back there to above 500. 2-7 in the Big East. They lost at UConn, unfortunately, 80-78 in overtime, and then they won at DePaul, 86-69. They're won over DePaul, at home.
That was an ankle.
That was obviously, if you paid attention to Butler and you're a Butler fan, you know that was Chris Holtman's return game to Butler.
It's also LeVar Jordan's.
Yeah, so or
Laval Jordan.
Two old
Butler coaches.
Butler coaches were back, and they cheered for Jordan and they booed for Holtman. Did you see? So
yeah,
which I thought was going to be the expected reception that they each got.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
But
yeah. The crazy thing to me, two things stand out to me, kind of, at least from the UConn game. Butler went to the free throw line 28 times, but they only converted 19, so 68%. So that's a lot of free throws they missed.
Better than Ball State?
Yeah, but could have.
But definitely not good.
Yeah, definitely would have changed the outcome of the game. Then UConn, I guess this doesn't surprise me as much, but UConn had 50 points in the paint, which I think we'd expect from Butler because we talked about it. Their interior presence has left a lot to be desired, because they live and die by the three, and their 3-point shooting wasn't quite there to help counteract the 50 points in the paint.
Was it the Butler game when Dan Hurley got caught saying, "I'm to the ref, I'm the best coach in the effing sport. Don't turn your back on me," to the ref?
It might have been.
I think it was.
It might have been.
He should have absolutely been teed up. This man needs teed up so often. Just what I'm saying is they should have won the game because Dan Hurley should have gotten a tech and should have, been, that should have been 2 free throws, which would have, put them at a win instead of over, tie. It would have made them tie or win if it was in regulation. But Butler has never beaten UConn, ever. They're 0-10 since joining the Big East, and they lost in the really disgusting 2011 national championship game when they played.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, they're getting closer and closer.
They did better than the NCAA tournament. They lost to them by single digits twice last year.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing it's so Butler, UConn is the first team that Butler has played twice in Big East play.
Mm-hmm.
Lost by a combined 6.
Yeah.
Granted, I will say UConn
in stores.
Yeah, UConn is back-to-back defending national champion. Losing by a combined 6 points, that's still like, I'm okay with that. Like, it sucks when you think about what about the other 9 times that they've played? But it's still they're knocking on the door of getting that first win against UConn.
Yeah, I mean, Telford had a shot to win it at the end of the overtime there. He had a shot, a 3 that went up, but it didn't go in. And I wanted to just do a real quick shout out before the DePaul game. Kyle, the Butler fan, on Twitter he called a Pierre Brooks 30 piece, and he was so close, man. 29, 29,
1 point off.
They're an assistant, count one of his assists. That's over 30 right there.
Yeah.
Colby King was out against UConn, came back, only played like 3 minutes. He had a 3 trillion. He had a concussion, so garbage minutes.
Yeah.
But shot above 50% and held DePaul to 5 of 21 from the 3 when they average over 10. So just like the win that like you have to beat DePaul, but like you can't squeak by DePaul and feel good about it at home. You have to absolutely handle DePaul, especially given it's Chris Holtmann. You just have to handle them, and they did that, and so that's definitely a success. So hopefully they take that almost win at UConn and this win at home against DePaul, and they continue that and build some momentum going forward.
Yeah, and I do want to shout out Pat McCaffrey. He did a commercial for the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They aired it the first time I've seen it. I don't actively watch commercials very often because usually I've got multiple games up and I'm flipping between them. But it aired during the IU game on Sunday today, and he referenced his struggles in 2023 where he stepped away from the game.
Yeah,
like middle of the season, he stepped away from the game.
Mental health reasons, he said,
and for some anxiety and stress reasons. So I think major kudos to him for doing that commercial and helping spread awareness for.
Always good to
for the hotline
have
or the
someone
lifeline.
Speaking about it, right?
Yep.
Talk about Evansville. Let's move on to Evansville because they had played an in-state game. We know that.
Yep. So they went up in Torvik. They're 264 from 278. They went 1-1 this week. Their overall record is 7-4, and they are 4-6.
7-14.
7-14. Excuse me. They're 4-6.
Only played 11 games.
Hey,
They've
man.
been sneaking by. It's the COVID year.
Hey, man. There's 14s and 4. They're next to each other. Whatever. They are 4-6 in the Valley. They lost to Illinois Chicago 78-67, and they beat Valpo, which we alluded to earlier, 78-68. Both games, tale of two halves.
When isn't it?
Yeah, but one was substantially worse than the other.
Yeah.
The substantially worse one is UIC. The Valpo game, they just had a very strong first half that carried them through the rest of the game. That let them kind of was it covered up how bad I think they did kind of play in the second half against Valpo.
Yeah, I mean they could not shoot against UIC, and UIC is like its team that I think was surprised a lot of people in the Valley because they weren't projected to be like this good. And then they've just been like, I think they gave Drake their first loss.
I
think they were Drake's first loss, and then Drake lost another one like back to back or something.
The UIC team, they're good.
Yeah.
Right. They're at the time when they played Evansville, they had 3 losses. Those 3 losses came from the 4 teams that are
Bradley.
3 of the 4 teams that are above them in the standings. So their losses are to the best teams in the conference.
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's like the conference is top heavier than I thought. Like for a second we thought it was just gonna be Drake, and then Bradley and like Belmont and UIC are all in the mix there. So definitely a good team. Posado was back in the
Belmont.
Yeah, he was back in the Belmont game, but like he wasn't back. You know what I mean? He was in the game, but he was not back. He was back in this one. He had 13, 6 and 5, and Homer was great as well. But they just 4 of 20 from the 3-point line, like down 15.5. Like you're not going to win, against UIC like that. And then the Valpo game, they shot it better. Tanner Cuff, 22 points, career high, I believe. And then Posado was definitely back. He played all 40 as he had been before he went out with injury. So did Comer as he had been. Posado had 21 and Comer had 17. Did you see Posado's technical like 5 minutes in?
No, I didn't.
He got a technical, just like he hit a three in De La Cruz Monegro's face pretty much, and he hit a little celly, but his celly was this. He hit that. He wasn't doing it. It wasn't like right in his face, but it was right in front of the ref and right in front of the bench. And so they just teed him up. And then Cooper Schwieger goes to the line. It's like it was a nice step back 3. It was clean. And then Cooper Schwieger goes to the line for these 2 free throws. He's hit 47 of his last 49 free throws. Missed them both. So I feel like weak tech. Weak tech, ball don't lie.
Yeah.
Ball don't lie.
Yeah.
And, it's notable that they did win by 10 without Cam Hafner. Didn't play. So pretty notable there that you go into Valpo and you win without Hafner. So Posado's great. It's refreshing to have him back. Yeah, anything else on the purple aces?
I do not.
Other than they just need to continue
play 40 minutes of basketball.
Yeah, that day we are going to get either 2 teams on Saturday. Either 2 of our Valley teams were going to be 4-6, or 1 was going to be 4-6, and we got the one, and they were the one. So they're 4-6 in the Valley now. All right, you're wearing the hat. You got to talk about Indiana.
Yeah. So Indiana, they moved down 4 spots in Torvik. They're 67 from 63. Went 0-2 this week. They're 14-7 overall, and they are 500, sitting at 5-5 in the Big Ten. They lost at Northwestern 79-70. They lost to Maryland 79-78. Northwestern kind of went nuclear in the second half.
A terrible half for the Hoosiers defense.
Yeah,
dude.
they put up like 54. Something like that.
What is his name? Brooks Barnheiser? No, not Brooks Barnheiser. Ty Berry, 7 for 10 from 3.
Yeah.
He hit like as many 3-pointers as they average in a game.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how on the statistics Indiana's 3-point defense is not worse.
That's a good question.
Because it feels like every team that plays Indiana, it's like they average 7 3-pointers, 12 tonight, 13 tonight. Like I feel like when they play Purdue, they're gonna just make a million, especially at Mackey. But let's talk about this game. Brooks Barnheiser,
he's getting the shit kicked out of him,
dude. No kidding, man. Dude, wasn't it the Purdue game when he got his
when he lost his teeth?
His retainer or whatever came out and lost his front teeth. And then this one, he goes up for a dunk at the end of the game when they're up. Like, they steal the ball. He goes for the dunk.
Slips on the rim.
Slips. Literally does a flip and lands on his face.
I thought his nose was broken.
I did too.
Like, I thought homie was going to be wearing a mask.
I was like, oh, they're not going to show him. Like, they're not going to do a close-up on him. And he the whole time, he was like, thumbs up, like, I'm good. I'm like, dude, you are broken.
Dude's putting his body on the line for Northwestern.
Yeah.
They're like, no boo-booey. All right. Well, the sacrifice I have to make is my entire body and well-being.
At least Eric Mulder jumps for a board and he just doesn't care if he comes down, but he doesn't almost die. Like, he doesn't almost die when he goes up. But just, they literally average like 6 a game and they hit 13 threes, and Ty Berry had 7 of them. So the defense has been bad. I mean, Chris Collins just exploited Mbako, I feel like, the whole time. Just Mbako was clearly, like, he was positive on offense. I don't know what his plus minus was, but it couldn't have been great because he was just getting cooked all night. And that's exactly what Chris Collins wanted in that game, and they got it. So I was very positive after the first half, and then that all disappeared in the second half.
Same. Actually, the same thing happened in the Maryland game. Really, I was pretty positive after the first half. Like, okay, we're in it.
Yeah, I was more positive in the second half because like things started to actually like trend up. Like, it was like, oh, they're not getting there, but they're getting close. Like they're gonna chip away at this lead.
Mbako was plus 3.8 against Northwestern, by the way.
Interesting.
How
do you have a point?
Or no, I'm just looking at the net ranking.
I got you. I'll find it. So let's talk about the Maryland game, because Maryland was coming off of like a 21-point win.
Yes, Maryland was coming off a 20-point win over Illinois. So a lot, and that was their first road win, I think,
of the season. Yeah,
Which is
what a road win. What a road win, dude.
Yeah. So they definitely had a lot of momentum. First off, question for you: if you had SEC football offers, would you turn them down to play Missouri Valley basketball?
Maybe, man. Basketball sounds easier than football. I mean, it also depends, like, what kind of scholarship and what string was I going to be,
Yeah, that's fair.
So maybe. I mean, I would always pick basketball, but
the answer for Jacoby Gillespie is yes.
Yes.
Played 2 seasons at Belmont, and then now is at Maryland and is one of the best guards in the Big Ten.
Dude.
Also during the game, forgot Maryland. They wear graduate patches on their jerseys for their guys that are 5th year plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty neat. I forgot they unveiled that 2 years ago, I think. But JG, Jordan Geronimo, had one on his jersey in the game, and I was like, why does it say that? I was like, oh, duh, Maryland does that, just similarly to the SEC doing that for football.
In the game, Mbako was -3. Everyone had a minus, plus minus, except Kanan Carlisle, who had a 0. A net 0. He was perfectly even in that game. So just a little bit on that. Last play, did you see what they said afterwards? And like on the last play that like they were doing. Okay, Indiana. First of all, let's talk about before we get to the last play. Let's talk about the last sequence because Indiana's up 2 with like 20-something seconds left.
Something like that.
And Maryland comes down, travels and
or double dribbles.
Yeah. Insert call should have been made.
Yeah.
It should have been made.
Yeah.
They don't call it, and then what's his face hits a 3. So then they're up 1. They bring it down, take a timeout. I think they should have just gone for it.
Rice had open lane.
Bro, he was ready. He was ready. It was exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
And then they take that timeout. Then they're subbing everyone out. The whole play just gets they're all confused. The play gets blown up. Rice just throws up a terrible 3. They obviously they took out like all the bigs. No bigs to rebound
Malik
it.
was in there.
Balo was. If you're gonna chuck something up, you want Balo there.
True.
Too. They took him out.
I mean, the play just blew up. They've ran that play a million times this season, and it has worked. There was a lot of confusion because of personnel switches that are all last minute. No timeouts left. And the play blew up. And Rice felt like the only chance that they had was for him to chuck up the shot. And we were close. Just missed. And Julian Reese, it was either Derek Queen or Julian Reese is going to out rebound Trey Galloway.
Yeah,
10 out of
Trey
10
Galloway
times.
was right there to get the tip or something. I don't know. It was disappointing. Like, I really thought that this game was theirs. I thought that Indiana was going to have this game for sure. And then they just, last second, didn't have it. Does this team make the tournament? They're bubble-ish right now.
Yeah.
They have 1 quad 1 win, maybe.
2 quad 1
at
wins.
Penn State and Ohio State.
Yeah, they're 2-6 quad 2-7 now. Quad 1. No quad 2 through 6 losses, or 2 through 4. Sorry. They're 2-7 in their quad 1 rankings.
Right, but I mean, you know what their upcoming schedule is.
Yeah.
Do you think they make it?
Gut says no, heart says yes.
I just don't see where the wins are going to come. Like in their upcoming schedule, I don't see where they're going to get wins to make it in.
Well,
because if
they're going to beat UCLA.
If they only win the ones that they're favored, they will not make the tournament.
They're going to beat UCLA.
Fine.
I think they're going to beat Michigan.
I don't know.
I think a double-digit win against Michigan. I feel it in my loins.
I do not.
They're gonna shock people. They're gonna shock people. And then they're gonna run the table in the Big Ten tournament.
Okay. Well, my next question is, if they make it to the tournament, somehow, if they run the table in the Big Ten tournament, or if they just get in with their resume as an at-large, Mike Woodson stay? Not does Mike Woodson stay. He would obviously stay. Do they keep Mike Woodson? Because that's what the talk is all about Indiana is, are they going to keep Mike Woodson or are they going to fire him? Because everything, if you talk to, if you hear anybody else talk, it's Mike Woodson is going to be gone. And that's all, that's all people who talk about, it's all losers who talk about basketball like us,
I think about this a lot.
Keeps you up at night.
It does. It quite honestly does. I will say this. I think the more likely outcome is that Mike Woodson steps down and not that he gets fired. I think regardless, unless they lose the rest of the season, they don't win a game this season, the average margin of loss, I guess, is 15 plus. I do not believe he will be fired. I just don't believe it.
Now, do you say he won't be fired or he won't be fired on paper? Because him stepping down, if he steps down, I would say 99% chance they said, Mike, you need to step down.
See, I'd say 50-50. This isn't like it either happens or it doesn't. I generally feel that like he has such a tight circle of a lot of both Indiana alumni, former Indiana players, NBA vets, people he trusts. I believe that there are people that will tell him or are already telling him, hey, maybe it's time to step down, because they all care about Indiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I'm sure
everyone wants what's best for Indiana, and that's why I think that if it gets to a point where enough people are telling him, enough people that he trusts and are part of his, we'll call it an advisory group, whatever, are telling him that, I think that's what would happen. But I think if he leaves regardless, it will be them saying that he is stepping down.
Yeah.
I don't think that outright they will say he has been fired.
Right, of course.
For a myriad of reasons, right? One thing that I struggle with when it comes to Mike Woodson, and I talked to you about this a couple weeks ago, is this is just such a stain for a lot of fans on his legacy.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player there. Yeah. Phenomenal advocate for the university. Phenomenal person. Right? Not a single player has outwardly talked bad about him that he's coached ever.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something to him. It's just things didn't work out. But because things didn't work out in the way that they have been at this point, there will be fans. That's all they're going to think about. Woodson. That's going to be their memory.
Especially because a lot of the people didn't know Mike Woodson as a player.
Right.
They're too young.
Right. That's what worries me and what scares me.
So how does he save his job? Because I think if you're looking at it right now, like...
You're playing in the Sweet 16.
Okay. I think that's probably fair. I mean, you have to make the tournament and make some kind of run.
I think playing in the Big Ten tournament championship, win or lose, is a step. I think being at that point, they're in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean that probably gives them enough wins because they're going to probably be playing on the first day of the tournament. They'll be one of the 15 teams in.
So I think that gets them in the tournament and is that checkbox of like, okay, maybe they're figuring it out. What he's saying is true. And then I think that they have to play in the Sweet 16.
And just make the second weekend.
Make the second weekend. To be there.
So who's going to replace? No, I'm just kidding.
I will not have this conversation.
I'm just kidding. That's not the kind of show that we are, and I don't really care. I am a type that while Mike Woodson is the coach, I'm going to support Mike Woodson.
Yep, absolutely.
While Matt Graves is the coach, I'm going to support Matthew Graves. Like I'm going to support the coach. I'm going to root for every single one of these players, every single one of these coaches, every single one of these universities. Every day. Like that's just the kind of fan that I am, and that's the kind of fan that I want to be as the show. So let's move on from Indiana because the season's not over. There's you look at whatever the season is now, and that can change drastically. They can go on a run. Like they could beat Purdue, they could beat Michigan, they could beat Michigan State. Like they could go an all-time run, right?
Mike Woodson is I think 77-46 at this point in his 4 seasons. Matt Painter was 80 and 50
Okay.
I think, in his first four seasons.
I mean, I'm not saying like,
Look at
I'm
that.
not saying, I'm not the one who's saying that,
No,
you
I
know,
know.
the
This is not me saying this to
right.
you.
The
This
seal,
is me saying
the,
this
the
to
season is sealed. Literally
Yeah.
anything can happen. I mean, you know, look at some of these teams like Evansville, who's playing, you know, much better ball now than they were when they were scoring 30 points in a game. But Indiana State is a team that has kind of flipped it how they started their conference season. So they went down this week in Torvik from 234 to 241. They went 0-2 this week. They're 9-12 overall, and now they're 3-7 in the Missouri Valley. And they lost at Illinois State 85-81, you know, in a close one there. And then they got beat again badly at home, this time to Northern Illinois 74-56. And I mean, you know, I have it here, like after the Illinois, when I was writing this, after the Illinois State game, I was like, all right, it's 5 games they've dropped in a row. And then UNI, okay, there's 6. There's 6 games in a row that they've dropped. And they were like they were, you know, tied for first when they were undefeated, like 2-0 or 3-0, whatever it was, in the Missouri Valley at one point. And you know, now they've dropped 5 or 6 in a row. So they were 3-1 at one point. Now they're 3-7.
Yeah, well, the month of January really killed them. Really hoping that February is a new it's a new chapter in their season, right? Like you said, 6-game losing streak. They're 1-7 in the month of January.
Yeah.
So not ideal.
No kidding.
Illinois,
No kidding.
yeah, Illinois State game, wild. I was looking at some like stats from the season. So they made 13 3-pointers and shot 37% from 3, which is the best that they've done since playing UHSP, who is a non-D1 school. When they also made 13 and also shot 37.1%. Both games, the Illinois State game and the UHSP, they were 13 for 35 from 3. Also, the 6th time this season where they've made 13 or more. So that's just depressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only way to put it. On the opposite side of that coin, turnovers. Major issue. They've had 15 or more turnovers in 6 of the last 8 games. This was as of the Illinois State game. In the NIU game, they also had 14 turnovers. So a lot, turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, they just go cold. Like, they went cold for like 6 minutes in the second half against Illinois State, and then they started 1 for 10 from 3 against UNI, and, you know, live by the 3, die by the 3. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, I think I think their shots are fine, and they're playing, you know, pretty decent defenses. UNI is a really good team, so I don't know. I think that, you know, the Murray State was a good win to open up their second game of conference. Missouri State is dog water, so they had to win that one. Like, that's what they opened up the conference with. So just like looking at their upcoming schedule, dang it, I had it here.
You also said UNI, and it's NIU.
NIU, sorry. Not
right?
Northern Iowa. Yeah, Northern Illinois, right?
No, it was Northern Iowa. Sorry, I'm the idiot. I had it written wrong.
Okay, you confused me. I was like,
it's actually written wrong in 2 different places on our.
I was like,
run sheet.
I was like, isn't Northern Illinois? Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, no, it's
our unpaid intern bringing us down. But they like their next game is a get right game. Like, they go and they play at home against Missouri State. Like, you have to win that game. Missouri State should not beat you, and Missouri State should not beat you at your place. So win that one, feel good, and move on and move forward and march on. IU Indy, the Metros, they went up 308 to 303. I was wrong. I said that they would be top 300 at the PFW game.
They were.
Were they?
297.
Oh my gosh, let's go.
Trust me.
I was right.
I had it in my notes. I made sure to check for you.
Okay. I didn't check. I didn't check before the game. I checked after. They went 1-1 this week. They went 7 They are 7-15 overall, so they've surpassed their win total from last year now, and they're 3-8 in the Horizon League. Their win came at Green Bay, 86-77, and their loss came at home to Purdue Fort Wayne, and the Jalen Jacksons there. So,
you say Purdue Fort Wayne and the Jalen Jacksons as in Jalen Jackson is their mascot?
He might be.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Green Bay, you got to be the team who coach runs a radio show and a podcast.
Be careful when you say that, because one day we will be coaching a team and also doing our podcast.
Yeah, and I hope people are saying this about us. I would expect that. I'm not saying this so that people won't say it about me. I mean, obviously, it comes with the territory. You got to know what you're getting into. They were up 17 at halftime. I mean, Green Bay, like 0-10, like they eased up at the end of the game, and it was worse than it was.
I wouldn't say they eased up. Corsaro said they got sloppy.
Yeah, true.
That ain't easing up. That's being.
No, I mean that's when you're just whatever. I'll try it. Maybe it'll happen.
Okay.
So they shot a bunch of threes. They made them. Green Bay's bottom 10 in the country in 3-point defense. So good job on the coaching staff there. And then they have a tough game against PFW. Like they took PFW to overtime in the Coliseum. I was expecting this game to be a little bit closer than it was. I thought that the Metros were gonna prevail, and they were going to be fueled by that, but that didn't quite happen because Jalen Jackson had other plans. I mean, it was pretty close, like first 10 minutes or so, first 15 minutes or so, and then they just started cooking them at the end, and we're up 15 and couldn't really catch up from then.
Yeah, I was listening to it on the radio. I was running back and forth between Lowe's and my house. I wasn't able to watch it, but I was listening to the radio, and it was just like every 5 seconds you just hear Jalen Jackson.
Yeah.
Jalen Jackson. 999 career points as a Mastodon. Jalen Jackson, 1,001 points as a Mastodon. It's just like, and I didn't know what the score was this entire time.
Right.
Because they do not do a good job of saying the score when broadcasting Purdue Fort Wayne games on whatever AM radio station it is. The Fan, yeah. It's just what's the default radio station in my dad's car. And I was in my dad's truck. Every time I get into his truck, it's 1380. It's just all it's on. So
the last time I in my car turned on AM radio was when I hit the button too many times, and it flipped to AM radio. I was like, crap, what am I doing? And then that was only because I forgot my charger.
I couldn't tell you a single radio station in Fort Wayne.
I am sure 98.9 The Bear is still around.
I don't think it is.
I guarantee it's still around.
I don't know.
Hot 107.9 is probably still around.
98.9 The Bear is
98.9 The Bear
is still.
Bro,
okay.
Do you remember Click Hop? Do you remember Click Hop back in high school? It was I don't remember what radio station it was. It was there was a website where you could vote on upvote and downvote songs, and they would just play the top 20 over and over, and you would just people would just vote them, and then they would just play the top 20 whatever.
The radio station in 2012.
Click Hop? Dude,
Click Hop. Fort Wayne. Clickhop.weebly.com.
It rocked. No way that website's still up.
It's still there.
What's the top 20?
Listen live. You can request a song.
Click Hop banged when I was on my drives to school. This is before I was listening to Illmatic every day on the way to school with Myron. The
background is Miley Cyrus eating an ice cream cone.
But they're very good. IU Indy, the fact that they were able to hang around in this game tells you how good they are. They can play with anyone and beat anyone in this league. And kudos to Casaro, because at the end he even said that if he was voting today, he would vote Jalen Jackson for Player of the Year in the Horizon League. So I think that's the right decision. A tough game, but it was nice to see that they had alums there. They had 40 alumni basketball alumni at the game. It was their homecoming. The only other thing I have to say is that Luke Bosso, if you get the old Metros mascot, or recreate it, I will come down for the Metros game every single year and wear it. I will be in the costume, and I will be, I don't even know what his name was. I don't even think the internet, the IU's official website didn't even tell me its name. I will wear it. If you can find this, make one. I will wear it every single Metros game until I die. Find it.
Those are some bold words. Those are some bold words coming out of you.
All right. Sorry about the digression about ClickHop, but if you're from Fort Wayne and you were here in the,
it was apparently only racist for like a year.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome. I don't know why it went out. Probably because they only played bangers and no ads. That's probably what it was.
They just had no money to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Notre Dame. They moved up in Torvik. They're 84, up from 91. They went 1-0 this week. They are 9-10 overall, 3-5 in the ACC. They got a win at Virginia, 74-59, and they are also our Week 12 Hickory Team of the Week.
Woo!
They were half-point dogs. They won by more than half a point. So also their first ever win at John Paul Jones Arena. They assisted on 63% of the buckets that they made. I think that equated to like, I think that 23 makes, something like that, or 27. 17 assists on 27 buckets. They shot 48% on the game and an impressive 52% from 3. They out-rebounded 39-27. That was also their best defense and third best offense based on efficiency this season. So they played great. They, blew that half a point underdog spread out of the water.
Absolutely.
So shout out to the Fighting Irish.
So when we run the state of basketball tournament, concession stand, half-point dogs. What it is. That's fire.
Got something.
That's fire.
That's got something to it.
All right, that's shout out to Notre Dame being the Hickory Team of the Week. Good win. You got to beat them. First win ever at John Paul Jones Arena. So, darn you, Tony Bennett. Darn you. Darn you. You're gone. They got the win. That's all that matters. Let's talk about the Dons. They went up from 150 to 144, so they're climbing in the ranks. In Torvik, they went 1-1 this week. So they dropped one at Oakland, 76-72, and then they won at IU-Indy, 91-80. That brings them to 15-7 overall and 8-3. I think that makes them like tied for a second or third in the Horizon League, but definitely within striking distance. Just 6-0 run at the end to lose the Oakland game is a bummer.
Holy free throws.
Dude.
13 combined free throws. 6 for 6 for the Dons, 6 for 7 from Oakland. That's just wild to think about.
It's crazy.
I feel like we've talked about games. Last week we talked about a game that had 78 combined free throws or something like that.
It's absurd. The
11 dudes file out.
Yeah, it's
and
absurd.
There's this game.
How like that can happen in college basketball. I'm like, that's the beauty of it, kind of. But then that's what stinks. Is like you get watching a game where it's like 50 free throws. This is so unfun.
Yeah. They led for 47.6% of the game.
Yeah, I mean it really was just that last 6-0 run in the closing 3 minutes.
Yeah.
When they were up 1 to lose it. So that sucks. And their 3 losses on the road have come by 4 points combined. So they lost by 6 points combined. They lost by 1 to Detroit Mercy, which I think is that's a bad loss, but it's a loss nonetheless. I mean, they're one of the worst 2 teams in the league. That's the one where they got punked.
At the time, they weren't.
Right.
The time Detroit Mercy was in first.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, true. Then they lost to Northern Kentucky by 1 in overtime off the wedgie. BS, discount that one. And then they lose by 4 at Oakland on the road. So they're not getting blown out. So, if you're looking at like the team that can win the Horizon League tournament, it's PFW's got to be at the top of the list, even though they have more losses than other teams because no one is beating them badly. But then the IU Indy game, I mean, dude, Jalen Jackson, clinic. 38 points, 14 free throws, 7 boards, 6 assists, career high points, third most in the D1 era for the Dons, and the most points in the Horizon League this season.
Who was the last Don to score 38 points in a game?
Jitty. John Conchar, baby. John
6 years
Conchar.
no. 7 years ago. 2018.
That 24 to 25 switch throwing me off still.
Yeah.
Like when you're in school and you're writing the date and you always write the last.
When I on my after Christmas, I went to paid for my dad to get an electric start in his car. The salesperson was filling out the paperwork, wrote 24, and this is like, granted, it's like
the third day,
the third
yeah,
or the fourth. I was like 25. She was like, I'm gonna be doing this for like 2 more months.
Yeah, that's
I feel that it's pain.
Shout out to another Fort Wayne native, Bryson Scott. He holds the record for most free throws in a game at PFW with 15. Jalen Jackson is 1 shy here at 14. He could have had it.
Also,
Could have had it.
High school alum brothers.
Yeah, Northrop.
Yeah.
Shot super well, 45% from 3. Maximus Nelson had 15. Bello is great as well. I mean, the team's just clicking, I think, on all cylinders. And if they're not the favorite to win the Horizon League tournament, I know they're not the favorite to win the regular season because they are behind. They will be when the tournament starts.
Yeah.
Talk about their again.
We're gonna talk about
we're gonna talk about Purdue.
Purdue West Lafayette. They moved
PWL.
up 3
PWL.
Hate you. They moved up 3
true.
spots in Torvik. They went from 12 to 9. They did go 1-1 this week, but they are 16-5 overall and 8-2 in the Big Ten. 8-2 compared to 3-4 Ball State. Just thinking about that. It's just it's just wild to see. But they lost to Ohio State. That game was at Mackey. 73-70. Then they played a game and won against Michigan. By a lot to not a lot.
Dude, the game was over in the first 3 minutes.
It was 91-64 final score.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm pretty sure Michigan was they had taken 1 loss. They had already lost 1 in the conference, right? Michigan. So this was Purdue beating Michigan was Michigan's second conference loss. Correct.
Michigan lost to Minnesota.
Yep.
Or was that after this?
It was Minnesota. It was a dirty encounter in the barn.
Yes.
When Dawson Garcia hit the half quarter.
The half quarter, yeah. So this was their second loss because Michigan State's the only team that hasn't lost.
Yes.
College basketball is awesome because Purdue is obviously, based on everything they've done this season, a better team than Indiana. But Indiana has beat both Ohio State and Penn State, who Purdue has lost to both of those teams. So, I mean, I think that Purdue, if you want to be mad at Indiana for beating Ohio State and lighting a fire under them to come out and beat you, and Mackey, I guess.
But honestly, can they be mad because them losing to Ohio State is what fueled the fire for them to absolutely destroy Michigan?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah,
should Purdue be thanking Indiana?
I don't know.
Spin zone?
True.
People are saying
this was their first loss in Mackey. Since they lost to Indiana in 2023. They haven't lost in Mackey since then. That's huge. That was February of 2023, I think, when Indiana won there.
Yeah.
But Ohio State just lights out, which is unheard of.
It was a 36 game winning. Or no, sorry.
Huh?
Sorry. Never mind. Keep going.
Yeah, it was just they just shot lights out. Ohio State did, and Micah Parrish for Ohio State dropped 17 in the second half. So when they shoot 8 of 12 from the three in the second half, it's hard to win. And they took that personally in the in the second game. They beat Ohio State's rivals pretty handily, you could say.
Also, they're interestingly enough, it was Purdue's fourth straight victory over Michigan for the first time since winning 5 straight from 90 to 92. Been
Nice.
30 years since they beat Michigan 4 times in a row or more.
Did you see that Braden Smith is the first player this century, men or women, to have 20 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, and 1 or fewer turnovers against the top 25 team?
I did, and still no triple-double. It's never going to happen.
Bro.
If it didn't happen this game, it's not going to happen.
He's dangling the triple-double like with a stick, like on a carrot on a stick in front of him.
Is it possible? It absolutely is. It's possible to average a triple-double but without ever actually getting a triple-double, right?
It'd be dang hard, but yeah.
Like, just constantly, like, 15 assists, 9 boards consistently, but one game he only gets 8 assists and 12 boards type thing. Like,
it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I hope that would be. You know what, Coach? You know what, Coach? I'm so mad. I mean, they only have one triple-double in their school history, and it's Joe Barry Carroll.
Yeah.
So, like, just let him be an elite company, please. Just please let him be an elite company. Like, he had 27, he had 24, 7 boards, 10 assists, 4 steals. You know what, Braden? Shoot, if he's not gonna let you get the boards, go get 6 more steals. Do something.
I was also looking at a stat unrelated to Braden Smith, but it's like when you look at the top 25 teams since like 2020 that Purdue has beaten, they've beaten teams ranked 1, 2, 4, 5, like I think 3, 8, 9, 12, 13, and like 24 or something odd like that. There are 6 ranked numbers in the top 25 of teams that Purdue has not beat in the last like 5 years. That's not to say that they've lost to those teams.
Yeah.
They very well couldn't have even played them.
Right.
But like, if you're a ranked team, you just don't want to play Purdue. Especially because since the 21-22 season, they're 23-9 against ranked teams, which is the best record in the nation.
Did you see that? So, did you see the quote of Dusty talking afterwards about like he was saying that they knew it was going to be loud, and so they were playing with pumped-in crowd noise like during practice, and said that that like they were practicing hand signs because they thought they were like your calls aren't you're not going to be able to hear the play calls, and Ant Wright on Twitter was saying that like when Beeline was at Michigan, when they would have to play Purdue, they would play with like as much crowd noise as possible because they're like you just can't hear anything. And he said that like they got into the game, couldn't hear anything. He was like, I think our players were just like in shock that they were like disoriented, couldn't hear anything, and so it was like just like didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do. So good win for them. Beat down. Someone's got to beat Michigan State so that Purdue can catch them. Let's talk about the Screagles.
Talk about the Screagles.
They went up in there it is. I did it. It took me 10 teams.
Okay, you're banned.
Today.
Okay,
they went up.
I'm taking over.
336 to 325
pause.
in Torvik. So they're 1-1 this week. That brings them to 9-11 overall and 4-6 in the Ohio Valley. So they lost to SIUE by 6, 82-76, and then they won at Eastern Illinois 64-60.
I just gave you.
Did you need were you doing some hand signals?
No, I gave you I just gave you like 12 tags, which means like a quadruple ejection.
Oh, I didn't realize we were playing a game. So they won.
So
they lost to SIUE. They went on the road again. Lost 1-1-1. Just went cold. Like it felt like the Purdue Fort Wayne game against Oakland, but they went cold for like the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They didn't hit anything in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Just like turn it over.
Yeah, I mean, and with under a minute 17 left. They turned the ball over twice, which led to SIUE baskets and then them just icing the game with free throws. And that just hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah, I mean, they'd won the last two before this. They'd go on the road. SIUE might win the Ohio Valley. Aren't they in first?
I'll tell you here in a second.
I feel like they're in first or they're in second. Because I think SIUE
they're tied.
Beat Moorhead.
They're in sole possession of third.
Okay.
They've
Who's in
played
first?
one game more than the team in second. Moorhead State's in first at 8-2. Little Rock is 7-2.
Okay.
SIUE is 7-3.
Gotcha. What's SIUE's Torvik number?
245.
Okay. And what's Moorhead?
263.
Yeah. Okay. So, would have liked to have had this one for sure, but 4-6 isn't bad. The interesting thing about the Eastern Illinois game is that they had almost identical box scores on scores. They each had 21 field goals. They each had 7 threes, but USI had 4 more free throws. They won by 4, obviously. That's how that works.
Yeah,
but it's not often that you see their numbers are almost identical, and you can just look at the box score and be like, oh, that's exactly what they want right there. Those 4 free throws.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the one won them the game.
Yeah. Really cool thing that I noticed while looking at this USI stats. So on Torvik, I was using Evan Mia for this because I like to look at the adjusted offense and defense efficiencies. And they're color coded, right? Orange means they did well. And there's a color gradient scale down to dark blue, which means you suck. Right.
That's so backwards for me, man.
Yes. Don't get me started.
Turn on colorblind mode. Change it.
But when I look at Southern Indiana's games this season, only 2 games this season do they have anything in the blue.
Really?
Which is crazy because no other team in Indiana comes remotely close to that. Even Purdue has 6 games.
Really?
Where they have a lot of blue.
Huh.
Yeah, Southern Indiana. Of those 2 games, they were pretty bad offensively, pretty bad defensively in the Tennessee Martin game.
Yeah, but
yeah. Right. And then in the Purdue Fort Wayne game, they had offense was fine, was good, defense not.
Yeah.
This team that just shows, that puts to paper that this team, how hard this team plays and how well they're coached. I think they just are losing games close. They're playing well. The ball doesn't bounce their way a couple times, and they lose the game that way.
Yeah, just go cold, but they got it. I feel like if this one had gone, if this was a 45-minute game, they would have lost because they had all the momentum, but then they were up 20, but then Eastern Illinois went a 13-4 run. They just kept pushing it and pushing it. So if the game was longer, I feel like they would have. Eastern Illinois would have pulled away with it.
And there's a reason these games are 40 minutes.
And it's not that, but there is a reason. There is a reason.
Sorry, it's a good thing these games are only 40 minutes.
There we go.
So we don't have to talk about the hypotheticals.
They were like, how long should a college basketball game? I was like, all right, so there's gonna be this game in 2025, and if it was 45 minutes, the home team would win, but we kind of want the visitors to win, so 40. Let's just cut it off at 40. They won't have the momentum to do that.
That is exactly what didn't happen.
So John, that's what James Naismith said.
Yeah.
Do it for the Screagles.
Yeah.
He said, "What's that?" He said, "I don't know." I'm from Canada, man.
All right. Valpo moved down in Torvik. They're 240 from 223. They went 0-2 this week. They're 10-11 overall and 3-7 in the Valley. They lost at Drake 81-71. Then they lost to Evansville, like we previously talked about, 78-68. This is a 5-game losing skid for the Beacons.
Swipe.
At what?
I don't know. Losing swipe. I don't know. I'm
I-
just coming up with other S
I-
words. Streak, skid, swipe, slump,
Slump. 5-game
shalubi. Wow, those are
losing
only wins.
skid with an average loss margin of 9. So keeping the games in single digits, but would like to see them closer.
Schwiegs picked up 3 fouls in the first half of the Drake game. I mean, that's not going to win you the game there.
But it was his 11th straight game with at least 12 points.
Woo.
All right.
All right.
Phenomenal. He went 5 for 8 from the field and hit both of his 3-point attempts. 15 points, which is the 3rd straight game in double figures, and 2nd straight with at least 15. I think he had 16 last week or something like that.
Mm-hmm. He's been great.
Yeah.
Then they had to follow it up with Evansville, and I thought that Valpo was going to win this one because of, like, I know Evansville's great defensively, but, like, I didn't know what they were going to do to them. Like, they only shot 38.6% from the field against Evansville. Evansville's defense really controlled them at home, and I didn't think that was going to happen. Like, Schwieger was 4 for 15. Schmidt was 5 for 13. All right was good. He was 6 for 19, but, like, that's not that. Like,
listen to this stat.
Their defense, they were cooked.
Listen to this stat. The Valpo forced 21 turnovers against Evansville, which was the most forced by the Beacons since 2020. It was 24 by SIUE. Valpo had a 14-game winning streak when forcing 21 or more turnovers in regulation, dating back to 2005. This tied with 2018 versus Indiana State for the most turnovers Valpo has forced in a league game since joining the Missouri Valley Conference.
I can't believe they lost with forcing Evansville over 21 times. Like, that's the crazy thing, because they turned it into 27 points.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel,
that's why that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, it's like that's where all their points came from, because Evansville's defense was locking them up.
Because you read that and you're like, ain't no way they lost.
No way you lost. Especially because I don't remember how many turnovers Valpo had, but it was single digits, I think. Like, it was an insane difference between the two. So, like, they just couldn't score on offense. They just couldn't make their best. They couldn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to you about this earlier, but the MVC, we've talked about it all the time, as how it's so cannibalistic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just beats each other up. Every game you're gonna get the team's best.
Yeah.
Well, listen to this. So Valpo beat Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa beat Evansville pretty handily. They're like, okay, transitive property. Valpo should beat Evansville. Then Evansville beat Illinois State, who beat Indiana State. Like, okay. Weird how this works. But Indiana State beat Evansville. And Evansville beat Valpo. But Valpo beat Indiana State. So it's just like this.
An Ouroboros.
I feel like Charlie Kelly just like
in
the mail room trying to figure out the equation of like how this makes sense. But I think it goes back to what you said when we talked about Purdue earlier. Is like this is what makes college basketball fun.
Right.
This is, I think, a big reason why I love watching Missouri Valley Conference basketball.
It's fun.
Because it's fun.
I wish our teams won more, but it is fun. You never know what you're gonna get. But what are they? 3-7 now?
Yes.
They've lost as many games as Ball State has played in their conference. Throwing that out there. What in the heck are you doing?
Sorry, I'm just
love it. I wasn't
hat.
mad about it. I loved it.
They're not. We're talking about Click Hop and made me think of the old days. I'm just throwing it back. All right.
Click Hop was awesome. That's a fact.
All right, Adam. We're gonna keep moving along, and what I want to know from you is who your Week 12 Jimmy Chitwood Player of the Week is.
Jimmy Chitwood this week is obviously going to be Jalen Jackson from Purdue Fort Wayne. He had 38 points. That's career high for him. That's the third highest in Purdue Fort Wayne's Division I history. He, also had 7 rebounds and 6 assists in that game. He went 14 of 18 from the free throw, which is the second most free throws in Macedon history. And the person who had 15 is another Fort Wayne native, Bryson Scott. So incredible performance in the win against the IU Indy Metros. But the most points in the Horizon League this year. So I'm going to be shouting it from the rooftops. You're going to be there with me. We are going to be putting this all over social media that Jalen Jackson should be the Horizon League Player of the Year. He is the difference maker on this team. He is the best player in the league, and that's why, this performance won him Jimmy Chitwood this week. He was incredible. We gotta start our campaign in earnest now for him to be it. So tweet everybody.
Was it not in earnest before?
No, I mean we gotta every week we're
okay.
You gotta make sure I'm gonna start DMing the coaches. Jalen Jackson, he did this. No, he's great. So he's he's obviously gonna win, I assume, Horizon League Player of the Week, but this is a better award anyway.
Yeah, those awards don't matter. Not compared to this.
True, dude.
What are you talking about?
Listen, how many people we get to say they're Horizon League Player of the Week? Hundreds?
True.
You only get like 20 of these a year.
Yeah. That's
Let's talk about the games next week. We have one in-state matchup, and it'll be an interesting one. It's Indiana at Purdue. That's on Saturday at 8 p.m. And right, that's Saturday.
No, it's Friday.
Friday. What?
It's Friday.
Mackey's about to be nuts. Mackey is about to be nuts. Like if it was loud for Michigan, it's about to be insane. Indiana, Purdue is 13.5 point favorites. That's crazy. I assume that's maybe what the line will be. That seems big, but it seems big for a rivalry game.
Yeah.
But I could see this game being close. I could see Indiana doing something absurd and winning it. I could see Purdue winning by 45. I really, truly do not know what to expect in this game, and that's what I love. That is going to happen. I wish we could have gone.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, don't get me started on
That's
that.
all right.
A couple games stand out to me this week outside of that game. 2 of them, Purdue Fort Wayne games. Big week with major Horizon League standings implications for Purdue Fort Wayne. They play Cleveland State on Thursday, where they're 6.5 point favorites. Cleveland State is sitting at the top of the conference at 10-1. Purdue Fort Wayne is tied for second at 8-3. That game is Thursday. And then on Sunday, February 2nd, Purdue Fort Wayne travels to Milwaukee, where they are 5-point dogs. Milwaukee, the team they are tied with for second. So
they need that.
We need these games this week for the Dons.
Yeah, for sure. They need to win if they want to win this, have a shot at winning this conference.
Yep.
What else? Southern Indiana at Moorhead will be interesting. They're 7-point dogs. Their third game in a row and on the road. That's Monday.
Yes. No, that
Tuesday.
is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Also Tuesday, we got Butler versus Marquette playing at Hinkle. Any top 25 opponent coming into Hinkle, it's going to be a banger. The Notre Dame plays Georgia Tech at Purcell Pavilion at 9 p.m. on Tuesday as well. That is a coaches versus cancer game. I want to call that out because cancer research and awareness is very near and dear to my heart. So watch that game to help support the cause.
Absolutely. And the last one is the Indiana State versus Missouri State at home. That's on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. They're 4.5 point favorites, as they should be. Just got to win that game, get back on track. And Missouri State is not won a game in conference, so that's a little bit scary because you always get the hungry team when you really need a win. So you really have to take care of business and do that.
Both show.
Let's talk about
last week.
You start us off, or you want me to start us off?
You can start us off.
All right, so Monday, Georgetown beat Villanova 64-63. Micah Peavy had 24 points and hit the game winner. And then Penn State beat Rutgers 80-72. Rutgers is disappointing. Like, they were a top 25 team to start the season, and they have not been good. They have two good players, but I mean, Ace Baldwin put the clamps on him in this one. He had 22 and Harper had 7. So Ace Baldwin, helped them win this game by putting the clamps on Dylan Harper.
Ace Bailey also had like 30 points, I think, or 20 something.
Ace Bailey, Ace Baldwin. Too many aces, man.
Yeah.
The Evansville Purple Aces weren't there, but they were there in spirit.
Tuesday, UCLA beat 18th ranked Wisconsin 85-83.
That was at UCLA?
Yes, that was at UCLA.
That makes sense.
Then Texas beat 22 Mizzou 61-53. That was in Texas. Arizona State beat 23 ranked West Virginia in Morgantown 65-57. So a couple top 25 teams dropping games that they probably should not have. One of which being my other alma mater.
Mm-hmm. Wednesday, number 7, Houston just put on an absolute defensive clinic, 170-36 over Utah. That's the Utah team that was 11-6 going into this game and beat BYU just before this. And BYU's been pretty decent. And then number 13, A&M beat Ole Miss. Just kind of like stole one there. Like, we're down and then just stole one right at the end. They beat number 16 Ole Miss 63-62 at Ole Miss.
Thursday, not many games being played, but Maryland beat 17 Illinois 91-70. That was in Champaign. Talked about that a little bit earlier. That was Maryland's first road win of the season.
And now they have 2.
Yes. That is
Friday, Youngstown State, the Penguins played, I don't know why, JUCO, Penn State, Shenango. They won 116-63. This is just the weirdest thing to me. That they're in the Pennsylvania State University Athletic Conference. That's 13 Penn State schools.
Yeah, it's like Penn State York, Penn State Shenango, Penn State. Like, it's just
like if there was IU East, IU Kokomo, IU system.
It is just a JUCO conference of those 13 schools.
So
Thought
weird.
It was weird that they played a non-D1 team in the middle of the season,
and not even like I don't know.
It's just not even like
why them? Why
like
them? Why not one of the other 12? Makes you think.
They've got a deal for the next 13 years. Every year they play a different.
Every January.
But yeah, like it's like Chicago State, who didn't have a conference. Just
at least they're
teams.
D1.
That's true.
JUCO, man.
I was looking at the games I saw. I was like, "What? I have to dig into this." What?
Genius move. Recruiting. They're trying to find the JUCO dudes that they were going to bring up. Elite move. Youngstown State. They know what they're doing.
I will be following Youngstown State's recruitment.
See if they get
next season.
This game. Handshake deals.
Saturday, number 1 Auburn beat number 6 Tennessee 53-51. This was the same Tennessee team that was number 1 2 weeks ago. 7 Houston beat 12 Kansas in double overtime. That score was 92-86. In this game, Jawan Roberts for Houston hit 2 free throws to tie the game in regulation with 14 seconds left. That sent it to overtime. First overtime, Emmanuel Sharp hit a 3, which led to an inbound pass
with like 5. Kansas went up like 6 points with like less than 7 seconds left, and it was like game's over. Like, you feel like game's over. Then Emmanuel Sharp hits that 3, and you're like, oh no, it's actually open. And then what?
I thought you were gonna keep rolling with it.
No.
I mean, I thought I was the one talking about Saturday.
Hey man, I was trying to tell you what I saw.
But it led to an inbound pass steal, which then led to a Malik Wilson step back 3, send the game to second overtime, and then Houston just didn't look back in second overtime and won.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, before those free throws, or before the Emmanuel Sharp 3, I think it was DeJuan Harris had 2 free throws when they were up 6. All he had to do was hit one. All he had to do was hit one. He missed them both. And they lose the game. Like, dude, they had a 0.04% chance to win the game when they were down 6. That's it. That's insane. I've never seen anything like that.
And then also on Saturday, Vandy beat number 9 Kentucky 79-69 and stormed the court again in back-to-back home games.
As they should.
The last time Vanderbilt was ranked in football and basketball the same year, 56-57. They were ranked in football earlier this season for a couple weeks, and they will likely be ranked tomorrow or Monday, the 27th for our listeners. Texas beat 13th ranked A&M 70-69. Tremont Mark hit a layup to get their first lead of the game. And they led for like 13.7 seconds.
They
3.7
hit
seconds.
that layup, and that was their first lead at the end.
That's what all that mattered.
Then Wade Taylor the fourth missed. He missed it.
Minnesota upset 15 Oregon 77-69. Dawson Garcia, another great game.
Bro, thank God Purdue played Oregon once already and is done, or Minnesota and is done with them. Like,
Dawson Garcia is cooking with him now. Like,
is
they're
Ben
rolling.
Johnson good? Like, is he a good coach? Did he just not have good enough players?
Maybe.
Are they actually like they're 2-1 against ranked teams.
Yeah. And then 22 Mizzou beat 16 Ole Miss 83-75. It's a 3-game losing streak for Ole Miss. So that's rough. Xavier upset 19 UConn 76-72. Xavier, a Final Four dark horse.
Anything's possible with Ryan Conwell.
Kansas State then also upset 23 West Virginia 73-60. Tough week for the Mountaineers as it was for Ole Miss.
On Sunday, the Army-Navy game happened, the one that has its own special weekend that everyone reserves, that Saturday for, but this game was on Sunday, so that's a little weird. Navy beat Army 66-53, though, and then Fordham, the Rams, got their first conference win by beating the Dukes of Duquesne 65-63, so now they are 1-6, so they're on that MAC. They're on that MAC schedule, man. Only playing 7 conference games at the end of January.
No, not MAC schedule.
Yeah,
MAC.
Not MAC.
Yeah.
MAC, not MAC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this coming week, the 27th, that is Monday, we've got Iowa State at Arizona. Arizona are 1.5 point favorites. That is 10:30 p.m. It's a top 15 matchup on Torvik. Arizona has figured out their woes, and they're both 6-1 in the Big 12. So big time game going on at 10:30 p.m. Eastern.
On the 28th of January, our game Tuesday is Minnesota at Michigan State because, Minnesota may be 13.5 point dogs at 8 p.m. when they play on Tuesday, but Minnesota beat Oregon. They almost and should have beat Ohio State, and they beat Michigan. They might actually be good, man. They really might. They're 2-1 against ranked teams. If I'm Michigan State, undefeated in the league, trap game.
Oh,
100% trap game.
100%. Hundy P, as the kids would say. On Wednesday, the 29th, our game of the day is Houston. They're 8.5 point favorites at West Virginia. That is a 7 p.m. tip. West Virginia has been pretty good so far overall this season. I say they did drop 2 last week, but that means they're hungry. Could be scary, especially because Houston has to then go on the road after that double overtime win at Kansas. So, will be fun to watch. I'll tune in.
If you're not driving, we'll probably be there by then. Turn it on the
yeah,
phone.
Grace tips at 7:30. We'll be there by then.
That's our other game of the day.
Yeah, we will be at the Grace men's basketball game in Winona Lake. They're playing Grace is ranked. I don't know the exact ranking off the top of my head at this point, but they'll be playing ranked Indiana Wesleyan University in some good old fashioned NAIA hoops.
Yep, some Crossroads League games. On Thursday the 30th, our game is South Dakota State at North Dakota State.
I mean, SDSU.
I know, right?
Yeah.
North Dakota State is favored by 6.5. That's at 8 p.m. So it's the I don't know. I call it the Battle of the Dakotas. It's the Dakota marker game in football, but like they play twice in basketball, and like I don't think it has a name, so we'll just call it Battle of the Dakotas.
What about South Dakota, North Dakota?
Sorry, they gotta call it something else. Figure that one out. I'll hit him with a copyright strike. Cease and desist.
Friday the 31st, our game of the day is Yale at Princeton at 7 p.m. Yale are 4-point favorites. Love some nerdy basketball. Because remember, you can always count on the Ivy League to steal their first game in the conference.
NCAA tournament.
I
need to look into this because when I was looking up the Ivy League, every single Ivy League team plays on Friday. So do they all always play? Like are all Ivy League games on like Tuesday and Friday? So like do all of the teams play on the same day?
I mean, I imagine because of the nature of their schools,
probably.
They probably want a consistent schedule.
Yeah. I just was like looking at that and I was like, never noticed that before. I'm gonna have to look into this. Saturday, that's February 1st. Happy birthday, Dad. Our game of the day is Florida at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 3. That's a noon tip. I almost said kick, dude. What the heck? Tennessee's 4-3. Florida's 5-2. But like both of these teams are top 10 in Torvik, which is crazy. That's just how deep the SEC is. That like these teams are top 10 in Torvik, but they are. Tennessee's almost 500, like just above 500, and Florida's not far behind, not far ahead of them.
Sunday, February 2nd, our game of the day is Bradley, who is -1 at Northern Iowa. That's a 4 p.m. tip. Bradley is in first place in the Missouri Valley with 1 loss. Drake has 2. UNI has 3 losses. So real MVC implications here. But we wish that our teams had a little bit more, we're involved in these implications a little bit more, but they aren't.
All right, those are our games. Now it's time to talk about our guest, the game of the week. I think you're up first this week, just as a refresher.
Up first.
You are 3-8, and I am 3-8.
I'm about to be on the stupidest. It's dumb. I'm so annoyed by that.
I'm not the one.
Whatever. I got a school confused. But okay. My week 12 guess the game for you, Adam, is Big Cats battling in the wintry South.
Big Cats battling in the wintry South. But why wintry? I mean, this could be like Missouri and Auburn. Those are both Tigers. Could be Kentucky. But in the wintry South. So maybe it's a game at like Auburn. Maybe they got some snow recently. I'm just going to go with Missouri at Auburn. The Tigers. Just both Tigers.
You got Auburn, right?
Was it Kentucky?
No, it was Auburn at LSU, who are also the Tigers.
Tigers. Why are there so many felines in this league?
But the wintry South was because it snowed in Louisiana. Like, you didn't see everywhere on Twitter, people were ice skating down that one street in New Orleans.
No. Nope. Not even one. Haven't even heard that it snowed there.
Oh yeah.
Not once until now.
Yeah, there was snow and ice all down whatever the main street in New Orleans. I can't think of it right now.
It's not Canal. Is it Canal Street? Is it what's this? We've clearly never been to Mardi Gras.
Not yet. It's
Bourbon Street is there. There's a Bourbon Street there. This is neither here nor there. I don't know. Yeah, I did not know that it snowed there. Though, see, you know what? There's too many dang tigers. There's too many dang cats in the SEC.
Yeah, I thought that you might be a little bit more in tune with the happenings of our great nation.
Nope. Nope. I've been thinking about other things about our nation.
Not the weather.
Not the weather.
But that game
about our weather.
That game is 7 p.m. Wednesday, December. Wow. 7 p.m. Wednesday, January 29th.
Wednesday game. All right. That brings me to 3-9. Okay. Ready for your game, Jaren?
Sure am. About to blow this out of the water.
Do you think you can guess this college basketball game? It's a tricky one. You ready? Here it is. Sunset on the horizon. Sunset on the horizon.
Sunset. Brother, I don't even know what any of this means. I thought we boycotted hints like what I was given a couple months ago.
Not that bad.
This is awful. This doesn't give me anything.
It gives you more than you think.
It doesn't.
It does.
Well, the only thing I can think of is the Horizon League. But how does Sunset apply to the Horizon League? Sunset, I think of Sunset Boulevard or Sunset Avenue in LA, so like USC.
Famously in the Horizon League, I remember.
Well, right. That's why I'm saying like there's
man, conference realignment is getting crazy.
No, does that mean it's in the? Does that mean I was right with the Horizon League?
Huh?
Does that mean I was right with the Horizon League?
Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
I'm just telling you what these.
I'm just following your logic.
You gave me 4 words.
Yeah.
One of them tells me Horizon League or makes me think Horizon League. One of them makes me think LA, which would be either UCLA or USC.
Sunset Boulevard. That's a good song.
Good sun and set apply to the Horizon League. Suns? Phoenix? No. Dude, I don't freaking know. This is the most impossible hint I've ever had in my life. I at least gave you an indication of what they were.
Hey, man, so did I.
Just nothing going on in my brain. I'm gonna say on the horizon. What?
I'm with you. I'm listening.
Yeah, I just don't know what I'm gonna. I was hoping that me saying that would like
give you something,
spark something in my brain. Sunset on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
I understand that. It's not a particularly good one, by the way.
It's all right. Sunset on the horizon.
Is that a song? Am I supposed to know this?
No.
Oh.
Shrines averaging 1,200 people in attendance this year. That's pretty cool.
But what does that have to do with Horizon League basketball?
I'm just scrolling. I'm trying to fill the air.
I have bored you that much.
No, I'm just trying to fill the air, man. You know, that's good.
Okay, Sunset on the horizon. I'm thinking Robert Morris and Wright State.
2 Horizon League teams. You were right in the Horizon League. That was the Horizon part of the clue. It is Green Bay at Detroit Mercy, Saturday, February 1st at 1 p.m. The sunset is because they're the worst teams in the Horizon. They're at the sunset of the horizon, Jaren.
I've never heard that
Just
term.
the lowest point. Lowest in the conference. This is a tough one. I told you it was tricky. It's a tough one. Just felt right when I saw it. When I saw the game, I was like, "That's the one. That's the one." Sunset on the horizon. Little play on words there. So now we're both 3-9.
I hate. When is that game? Did you already say it?
Yes, I did. That game is Saturday, February 1st at 1 p.m. Green Bay at Detroit Mercy.
I hate you. That was
man.
awful.
It's all right. We survived.
Did we?
No one. We've already established no one's going to get a 4th win. We've already established this. This is. I'm firmly believing that.
The irony is, I almost picked Yale Princeton as mine, and I saw it was on our notes.
Really?
I was like, I can't do this now.
Could have picked any of the other 3.
But those games didn't call to me like Yale and Princeton do.
Yeah, that's fair. There are times when I'm like starting to look at games. I'm like, when I pick my game, I go, should I look and see what games might stand out to Jaren? And every time I go, no.
Oh,
no,
I
found my game. I'm not even gonna think about his. I'm like, if I'm thinking of games, he's probably not thinking of the same one. So I haven't even seen that game.
It doesn't even cross my mind to like think about like what you might be picking.
LSU Auburn, didn't know it was happening.
I just scroll through the list and like I just see what calls to me.
That's what I did.
What I really wanted is unfortunate because it's next Monday. Not like tomorrow Monday, but next Monday, the 4th or whatever. Kansas and Iowa State play. And I was gonna make a Wizard of Oz kind of joke
because of the Cyclones.
Because the Cyclones in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unfortunate because Kansas State plays Iowa State this week, which like okay, but Kansas State. But if I say anything Wizard of Oz, you're gonna think Kansas, not Kansas State. I wanted to at least get you there.
Yeah, unless
Monday games are just not
right. They're not the best.
Not ideal for our
intern
to be able to turn around the content for us.
Yeah. You ever quick pickled anything?
What?
You ever quick pickled anything?
I don't know what that means.
So like today I quick pickled some red onions and some jalapenos. Like you just put them in lime juice basically.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Just like pickle.
Yeah.
Delicious, dude.
Oh, yeah.
We made some tacos.
Pickled red
I made
onions.
some tacos. Yeah.
I
Made some jalapenos and red onions. So good.
I've done it a time or two.
Love it. Love me some pickled red onions, quick pickled especially. But one of us will get to 4 games. Whoever gets to 4 games is determined the winner.
We need a crown or a trophy.
Sash.
Okay. Hey man, Party City's going out of business. We might be able to get something there.
You think they have a guess the game of the week winner sash like already printed? Like
almost certainly.
Like, hey, we're looking for a sash that says guess the game of the week winner with 4 wins specifically. Like, aisle 3. We've got 7.
Almost certainly it exists. All right. Anything else? The Chiefs are going to Super Bowl again.
I will not be watching.
We'll be we will be sitting here doing
we'll
this.
Maybe
care.
they'll both throw it up on that screen or something.
I don't care about the NFL. People always try to give me updates. Like Logan texted me today. It's like, I bet the Giants fans hate Saquon Barkley now. I was like, why? He's like, he had 3 touchdowns. I was like, oh.
Only time I ever paid attention to the NFL was when I played fantasy. Now I don't play fantasy, so I don't care.
Oh, see, I don't care about the overall NFL. I care about my fantasy.
Oh, yeah. No, so like...
But once the fantasy season ends...
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Like, I wouldn't even... Honestly, I probably wouldn't even know what, like, scores were unless I had, like, a defense. And then I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, Yeah. Same. Mm-mm. I just... Good at fantasy football. Don't care about the NFL.
Just so funny.
I'm a college through and through.
Yes.
That's the thing. And the only reason I know about the Kansas City is I got an ESPN
Got a
update
notification.
because they're going for a 3-peat.
Yeah. Who are they playing?
The Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles Chiefs does not do it for me. Like, go Birds, I guess.
Bills Eagles.
Oh. Dude, the Bills Commanders would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been the best. That would have been the best case scenario, and we got the worst in my mind.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Well,
come hang out with us instead of the Super Bowl, obviously. We're better than you can watch the commercials the next day or that night on Twitter.
I will almost certainly see them before the game on Twitter. That is just how Twitter works these days.
Yeah.
It's all right. Well, that's the show. The clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.